If you guys want the fastest way to improve your aim, get some Control Freaks for cheap. Use code Goblin for 10% off and improve your aim today. Link in the description. Yo, what is up guys? It's the Goblin and welcome back to the Call of Duty World War II video. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about 7 tips that if you listen carefully and, understand these tips and apply them to your own gameplay in Call of Duty World War II, you will instantly become a better player and improve your KD ratio, even your score per minute and other things, but mainly your KD ratio, which is, a very important stat in Call of Duty. Hope you guys will enjoy today's video. If you guys can, drop a like on this thing. That would be absolutely amazing. I appreciate all the support, all the new people subscribing, dropping likes, all that stuff. If we could hit 78 likes, that would be amazing. So smash that like button. Subscribe if you guys are new, and let's get right into this. 7 tips. Now, some of these tips, pretty much all of them I mentioned before. I've been on YouTube for quite some time, been covering Call of Duty, but these are the 7 ones that I wrote them down in my notes, and I think these are the most important ones. We're going to cover all of them in today's video, and this is truly a gem. So let's talk about it. Most of you guys will have heard maybe some of these before, maybe some of you guys have heard all of them before, but even if you have, it's always good to reiterate these and remind yourself of these tips to apply them, because you can, hear a tip, you start using it for the first week or two, and then it just eventually fades into the background of your memory, which is still good. But when you hear these things again and you start to pay attention to them and use them, it can really become key. So let's get started with these. The first tip is play game modes you're comfortable in, and I can't stress this enough. I see people that struggle on Call of Duty, and it's because they play a different game mode every single hour. They're switching between game modes. Now, it's cool to play, multiple game modes. That's 100% cool, but you should have that one game mode if you're trying to improve your KD that you can really strive in. Mine, personally, is Domination. That's what it's always been in Call of Duty. Well, back in MW2, when I first started, it was Demolition, but since then, I've always stuck to Domination. It's been my personal favorite one, where you can get objective points, level up fairly quickly, improve your KD, and get quite a few kills. And that's my personal favorite game mode. If you're switching between different game modes every single day and you don't have a game mode that you stick with, that's why you see certain players who only play hardcore, or only play TDM, or only play capture the flag or search and destroy. Once you understand and stick to that game mode, you can really become dominant, and that's because spawns are different in every single game mode, and it does take time to learn the spawns. Even on a simple game like Call of Duty, spawn points and all that different stuff are very, very, very complicated, and that's why I say stick to game modes that you're comfortable in. That's my first tip here. Next tip is a pretty obvious one, but it's only use good class setups and guns. Every once in a while, a lot of times in this game, there are guns that are overpowered and that we know a nerf is probably coming for them. And if you want to improve your KD, some people may say, oh, you're a super tryhard, and well, these are tryhard tips. These are to improve your KD. You want to basically use those weapons that are overpowered at the time. So right now, I'd say the Volkssturmgewehr, the new assault rifle, is probably the most overpowered one, and one that I could see possibly getting a nerf in the future. I think that's the gun you want to stick with for now. Also, making sure that you're optimizing your class setups or your division setups, as they're called in this game, and sticking to pretty much the top 5 or 10 weapons, at least the top 3 to 5 in each set, in each class, assault rifles, SMGs. I have videos on class setups with every single gun. I have videos on the top 5 guns for different things, different best rifles, best SMGs. It's not hard if you take the time to learn and execute. Make sure all your class setups are optimized. If you're using a bad basic training, that could really screw you over. If you're using the wrong division with your weapon combination, that could screw you over as well. Even something as simple as using an attachment that you didn't need could really be costly. Making sure all of your class setups are amazing, and I'm not saying my class setups are absolutely perfect. Of course, I'm someone that plays the game quite a bit, and I'm a Call of Duty veteran, I guess you could say, so I think I have good knowledge when it comes to my class setups. But even if you want to take some of my advice, mix it in with yours, just making sure you're using those best class ups and best guns is key. Next tip, I would say, is the #1 tip in Call of Duty. That is to aim down sights and be ready for gunfights. A lot of people blindly run around corners with their guns on their hip. If you're aiming down sights, waiting for people as they come around the corner, maybe you see them coming on the minimap, maybe you hear them coming on your headset, or maybe you just predicted, it looks like enemies will come this way. On a map like Point du Hoc here, it's really easy to predict enemy routes because there's only a couple ways to run. You sit there in the trench or above the trench aiming down sights, the enemy comes up to you, boom, you're ready for that gunfight. If you aim down sights around every corner where you think an enemy could be. So basically, when you first spawn, of course, you can run around a couple corners and probably be safe, but when you're out in the middle of the battlefield, you need to be aiming down sights around every corner where enemies are going to be. That'll give you that quick advantage. Things like quick draw can help you do that. Things like With the infantry division, being able to strafe around corners faster can help, and that's a big tip that will improve you winning more gunfights and, of course, making your KD higher in turn. Next is a tip about positioning. Stick to where you can't be shot in the back or sides, aka the side of the map. So most of people's deaths in Call of Duty, a certain percentage of your deaths are going to be losing straight up 1v1 gunfights, which I'll talk about in my next tip, but other times it's just going to be you got shot in the back, you got shot in the side, which you really didn't have a chance to shoot the enemy back, and that was probably based on positioning. So if you're staying to places where your back is up to where your teammates are, or your back is up against the wall, your back is up against the side of the map, you're not going to be able to be shot in the back. Knowing which ways you're vulnerable from is a key. Now, I won't say rely on your teammates, but having 5 teammates behind you watching your back, even if they're casual teammates, you don't know them, just randoms in your game, it's better than having your back against the enemy's flag, you know what I'm saying? So don't rely on your teammates, but you can position smartly, and sometimes your teammates can save your back, or at least knowing where you're vulnerable for. Knowing, okay, when I run through here, I could get shot in the left or the right, so I probably don't want to stay in this area too much. I want to get through and then get on, onto the other side of the map and then play it smart there. So it's all about positioning and making sure you're the least vulnerable that you can be, while also putting yourself in a position to get a lot of kills and to get your KD up like that. Next tip I have is for more of those one-on-one gunfights, and this tip is called control the engagement. Don't take every gunfight, only take gunfights that you think you can win or think that you have a high percentage chance of winning. So if I'm poking up and I'm head glitching on a box, an enemy's head glitching on a box across the way, I have the Type 100, he has the bar, he hits me first before I hit him, I should, if I can, duck down, wait for my health to regen, or run away, and because that's a smart play to make. You're going to lose that gunfight based on the weapon that they have, and you can figure out weapons based on the sound that it's making, or by the kill feed, when they're killing other people, or also just by literally knowing, if you get hit first, you're probably going to lose the gunfight. Sometimes you can't back away from gunfights, and don't turn around and run away and just get shot in the back. Sometimes you're forced to challenge, but there are those gunfights which everyone knows that it's called an ego challenge, where you challenge a gunfight you probably shouldn't have just because you think you're better than the enemies, and definitely toning down on that is a major key to improving your KD. When you see a gunfight and you know, okay, I have an SMG, he's at long range, he might be looking at me with a sniper, he might be looking at me with an AR, I'm just not going to challenge this, I'm just going to take a different rush route. That's a major key right there, and that's one that I would pinpoint right there. Next tip is pretty obvious, but it's learn the spawns for your game mode on your favorite map. So spawns switch off based on the map, of course, and based on the game mode, and that's kind of goes in hand with my first tip, playing the game mode you're comfortable in, because then you will learn spawns. You can learn spawns by watching YouTube videos. As you're watching this video, listening to me commentate, watching the gameplay, if you're paying attention to that mini map and how I'm maneuvering around the map, you can see where the enemies are spawning and sort of maneuver and learn those spawns. If you learn the spawns, which is, it's hard to learn the spawns exactly, but you can have a general idea of the spawns. You probably should by this point in this game's life cycle. That is a way that you can, something like Domination, I know the spawns pretty good, but if I went and played CTF, which I have played a couple times, multiple times, I've got V2 rockets in CTF and stuff like that, I still won't know the spawns as well as I do for Domination, so I'd have to play a bit smarter, take my time to learn those spawns. And the next tip here, the last one I have for you guys, the 7th tip here, is learn enemy rush routes. Enemies' routes are very, very predictable. If people spawn at a certain flag, usually they go one of 3 ways. And if you base yourself off of percentages, so for example, if people spawn over at C Domination, a lot of the time they're going to go through that bunker here at Point du Hoc. They're either going to go through the bunker or around to the side bunker. And a couple times they'll go through that house where I'm at around now, but most of the time they'll go through one of those 2 bunkers. So if you're playing the percentage play and you're hovering around that middle bunker which overlooks B Domination, I've said bunker 100 times, that's the percentage play, and you can predict enemies if they have the C flag, they're going to be running through there quite often. And just by, playing the game a lot, of course, you're going to get an idea of where the enemies like to run when they spawn in certain points. So when you use my tip earlier that I give, learn the spawns, then once you've learned the spawns and you learn the ways that people like to go off of the spawn, because people usually run the same ways every single time. I'm even guilty of that. You know, you just get into a habit of, okay, because Call of Duty is a game where you die a lot, you respawn a lot, right? So you're just going to be running the same couple of ways every single time. You learn those routes and how the people react, and you can absolutely dominate based on that. Definitely a huge tip. Hopefully you guys will put these 7 tips to use. I know some of you guys will have heard some of these before, but if you use all these tips, you will instantly improve your KD. Start putting these into your gameplay and start thinking about some of these things as you're playing the game, and I promise you that KD will go up and you will become a better player overall. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys could drop a like on this video, that'd be amazing. Let's go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Sub for a cookie and a lookie, and have a great night, guys, and I'm out. Peace.